Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is East Auckland Property Show, and this is episode number 23. Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is episode number 17 of the East Auckland Property Show. Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is East Auckland Property. Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is episode number 16 of the East Auckland Property Show. Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is episode 22 of the East Auckland Property Show. We are again with Brandon from iRefi on the beautiful setting.
Yeah.
With that beautiful backdrop. And we are planning to do today our end of year market update.
Yep, that's right.
Just to run a quick summary, what happened in the last 12 months and a very important update that actually came, what was that, last week?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just looking back at 2018, what are the major changes that happened on the financial markets that really affected?
Yeah, I think the first change that we saw at the start of this year, I remember, was the LVR restrictions for investors. So that changed first. The deposit requirements was 40%, and then at the start of the year, there wasn't a lot of talk or much prediction around them making that move to lower it from 40 to 35, but that did happen. And then it did, and so a lot of people were then being able to buy investment properties with 35% as a deposit. Didn't make
instead of 40,
and it didn't make a huge difference. We still saw people were still buying a lot of investment properties, and then towards the middle of the year, potentially between the second quarter and the third quarter, we saw a lot more people push through buying their first homes and first home approvals. Within 4 weeks of each other, I think we had 7 or 8 people that we all knew growing up in our company who actually bought their first homes around that period too. So we had a really big influx of first home buyers into the market. And even still right now, if we look at our loan board, and we're seeing what kind of action's taking place, who's got approvals, it's first home buyers or people selling to upgrade. That's what's common at the moment in the market.
Why is that? Is it interest rates or?
I think the interest rates are attractive. Admittedly, the first home buyers potentially aren't as up to speed as to interest rates and what they've been like historically as well. So people don't normally make a decision to buy a property because of interest rates. People decide to change their mortgages and have a look at their structure because of it. Nothing's changed to improve the ability for someone to afford a mortgage. So there's a difference between having a deposit and then being able to afford the repayments, because those are the two things that the banks will look at. So there's been no real changes in terms of the affordability calculators or the way that they calculate it. So I think it's just the way that the market's gone. Less action, less noise. I think the noise is something that can quite often put a first home buyer out of the market. But look, I think everyone who has made a move, who has been able to move, has, and now we're just starting to see people who are going through their natural stages of growth. Hey, we're married now, it's time to buy a house, or save my money, or I've got an inheritance, my parents helping me out. We're starting to see that. A lot less aggression from investors at the moment.
Okay, so it's the LVR and the high activity of first home buyers.
Yeah, definitely. So the change that we saw that happened last week was the amount of lending that the Reserve Bank is letting the bank lend out to first home buyers who have less than a 20% deposit.
Okay.
Right? So it's kind of like a staggered thing. I was thinking of a good way to explain it. Because the rules have changed from the Reserve Bank and their restrictions on the banks. Okay, so because the Reserve
So it's
Bank,
like something happening at the back, it's not in the front.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a decision that any of our banks are making. It's the bank that controls our bank and sets the rules for how banks should operate. So it's them. So those banks are now able to take their funds and lend more of it out to people with less than 20% deposit. So people kind of use the 20% as that's the line in the sand at the moment, is you've got 20 as the deposit. You can borrow with less. It's just that it becomes a little bit tougher because of that funding restriction. And what it previously led to was it led to people only being able to, in some instances, get approvals from their current bank. sometimes that's the right thing. Sometimes another bank might be able to lend you the money based on your scenario.
Yeah.
But because the banks had such a restriction on how much of their money that they could lend out to first home buyers, generally they would prefer to lend to their existing clients. So you've only really got one option, which you actually need to be able to check out all the
So
options.
it was the restriction on the percentage of the deposit, 20%, and then they had another restriction of the amounts of money that they can
lend on the 20%.
Okay.
So an example, take $100 for example. Previously, up until January, this coming January, the current rule is that, say if a bank was lending $100, $15 could be lent to people with less than a 20% deposit.
Okay.
The rest has to be lent for conforming loans.
Yes.
So that's going to change from 15 to 20. So they're going to increase their new lending. So it's not existing lending; it's lending for January up to 1 in 5 or $20 in every $100 can be lent out towards someone buying.
That's going to be effective from the 1st of January next year.
Yeah, I believe that's the date. Yeah. So they can't approve it in advance of that as well. So if you're waiting for action like that, then you start that quite early in the new year. And it really reflects the demand that I think the banks have had for the low deposit loans.
Yeah.
So I think that we are opening a gate to first home buyers, particularly because there's a restriction that the bank is putting further restrictions on, because the banks can decide who they lend their money to. The Reserve Banks decide how much. And so because the banks have made a decision saying we can only lend to our existing clients or clients who have a contract, they won't issue pre-approval sometimes, then yes, we'll only lend to this. They're opening the gap in the amount, so the banks could hopefully release some of their restrictions on the policy.
So if we can be somehow helpful to first home buyers, what will be your advice with the current situation of the recent changes?
Yep, perfect. So if you're buying, first thing to decide is how much you're going to borrow and what's your deposit, because if you have a 20% deposit, you have majority of the banks as your option. If you have less, then you do need to go and get the advice around it. Good starting point is obviously, I'm going to say, mortgage advisor or mortgage broker. Or if you're not wanting to use a mortgage advisor or mortgage broker, then you'd go straight to your main bank first to have that conversation. Because every bank has a different policy on how they determine if you are an existing client. You might need to deposit your income there, you might need to have had accounts there for 3 to 6 months. So it's doing your homework to make sure, okay, well, it's not now, it's just in 3 months' time. So let's sign up today and this and that. So just get the advice around it, and look, at the same time, we'll see in the start of the new year how those new rules come into play, and then potentially the options might be a lot wider for first home buyers. And then we had some other recent changes that I'm going to do a separate video with a lawyer, with Christine King, that you already know, about the anti-money laundering legislation and the foreign investor ban, and see how this will affect the market, because now if you're buying a property, you need to prove the source of the money that you're going to use to buy the property. So we'll see if this will have any long-term implications. No, for sure. It's we've had it on our end for a little while now for us to show source of wealth and source of funds. So I think they're just going through, and it was for you guys as well that it happened for the real estate agents. So
okay, awesome.
Cool.
So wish you happy holidays and awesome Christmas and travels.
Too. No, awesome. I'm looking forward to it, and look, it will be interesting to see what happens next year. I definitely feel like it's going to be a very strong opportunity for first home buyers. I think the market's just moved in the way where, provided the weather stays and people decide to go out and look at homes, I think that we're going to see a lot more people come into home ownership over the next couple of years.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, Brandon.
Cool.
Thank you, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.